I'm Tim. I'm a woodworker and a farmer.
Hi, I'm Amber. I'm a mom of 2 boys and I'm a professor.
Hi, I'm Scott. I'm a naturalist and a proud member of the queer community.
And we're biologists.
We work as a team to uncover the mysteries of hybridization and evolution in a changing climate. I study how evolution impacts neurological mechanisms in the brain.
I study behaviors that are impacted by hybridization.
And I study the genomics of hybridization and speciation.
As Scott mentioned in a previous video, hybrids are more common than most people think. They're in our gardens, our parks, and are probably in your kitchen right now.
We studied 2 species of birds, the Carolina chickadee and the black-capped chickadee. These species hybridize in a narrow zone across the eastern U.S. The questions we're trying to answer are what cognitive and behavioral traits does each parental species and their hybrids have that affect foraging ability? Are hybrids more or less fit than their parents? And how does climate change fit into all of this? All of these questions in chickadees help us understand how climate change will affect biodiversity.
As the world gets warmer and rainfall and snow drastically changes, species are often getting pushed together to find suitable habitats. From climate change and other human activities, we're getting hybrids all over the world between species like grizzly bears and polar bears that haven't encountered each other for millions of years. We want to know what this new gene flow means for how species adapt to a changing climate.
If hybrids are so common, does that mean that all hybrids are better?
The short answer is no. Hybrids are not necessarily better or worse than their parents. It depends on the context. Another issue here is, what does better actually mean? In the case of a mule, they're stronger than their horse and donkey parents, but they're also infertile, so they can't reproduce and are an evolutionary dead end. In the case of the hybrids we study, the parent species are more fertile, but some hybrids do successfully reproduce.
Additionally, when many of us think about traits in evolution, we think of body size or beak shape or other physical characteristics. But our research is trying to look at cognitive and behavioral traits, specifically spatial memory, the ability of chickadees to remember where they've cached or hidden their food items.
Chickadees are way better than humans at this. So in our work, we measure this trait by hiding a tasty worm in the same location multiple days in a row, and then counting how many places each chickadee looks before finding it. If it takes fewer tries for later days of the test, a chickadee is learning and remembering the location of the worm.
So far, we've observed that black-capped chickadees in the northern part of their range learn the location of their worms faster and with fewer errors than Carolina chickadees from the south. This means that black-caps have a much better spatial memory than Carolina chickadees. This is likely because winters are very mild in more southern climates and food is abundant year-round. But in the north, there are several months of the year when no new food is available, and so black-capped chickadees must rely on their memory to survive the winter.
We want to know, in the hybrid zone, whose foraging strategy is favored, black-capped chickadees, Carolina chickadees, or their hybrids. And the results so far are complicated. In some years of our study, hybrids had worse spatial memory than both black-capped and Carolina chickadee parents from the same populations. But in other years, there was no difference. How this will affect fitness likely depends on environmental conditions, which can also vary across years. We're still collecting new data and will be publishing our results soon. But one thing is clear. In nature, hybrids are not inherently good or bad. It all depends on context.
Do hybrids evolve in their lifetime?
We're all products of our genes and the environment, but evolution only happens at the level of populations and across generations. So in our chickadees, we've seen that populations in more harsh environments such as high latitudes and high elevations have better memory, better cognitive performance, and enhanced neurological structures to support those behaviors. These adaptive changes have happened as parents pass their heritable traits onto their offspring. Those offspring, with traits useful in the environment, can survive and reproduce, leaving their own offspring. Now, this is all great so long as the trait matches the environment. As environments change, so might the traits that are successful.
Why should people care about hybrids and hybridization?
For organisms to evolve, there has to be variation for selection to act upon. And if the only source of variation was mutation, we probably wouldn't have as much diversity on the planet. Mutations are rare mistakes or defects in DNA, and they're usually bad or have no effect. When species hybridize, if those hybrids are fertile and able to breed back into one of the parent species, They're passing new genetic variation that can allow for many of the amazing evolutionary adaptations we see out there. Most of the beautiful color patterns, bizarre adaptations, and fascinating behaviors that we appreciate are the result of nature's ceaseless reshuffling of genes that has allowed life on Earth to flourish and diversify over more than 1 billion years of evolution. So the next time you look at a piece of fruit or a blade of grass or a bird with an interesting color pattern, you might ask yourself, is this a hybrid?